What's up, Brandon and everybody? How are you all today? I'm excited to be here. Brandon, what's going on, man?
Well, I'm laughing at Vivek. He's already excited and pumped. I found that hoorah on one of the sites I was looking at for just military.
There we go. Yeah, and I called you out, man. That's the Marines. So, hoorah! I got a lot of Marine buddies. Well, one of the guys doing it my recent role was one. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. How's your day going?
It's going good. It's going really good. Had an all-day work event that I got to listen into. They dropped some knowledge. Spent most of it outside though, so I'll probably be sunburnt tomorrow or something. It's beautiful. How's weather up there by you?
Yeah, we're snowy. Well, I'm in Canada, right? So we're in that type of weather.
Well, how's the weather for everybody out there? Give us some thumbs up. Give us some claps. I want to see who's all in here, and that helps me do so. And then post in the chat real quick. How's the weather? Are you getting dumped on with snow? Are you in Mexico and it's 80 degrees and sunny? I want to hear it. Put it in the chat. And if you're in Mexico, I'm probably going to get a little jelly.
Yeah. So how's things going in Texas? I want to hear from Vivek, seeing how things are panning out there.
Yeah. And I'll give you a little sneak peek. I saw somebody and it said last week, 7 degrees in Austin. This week, 77 degrees in Austin.
Wow.
It's a roller coaster. So here we go. So Sean Delane says snow is melting finally, right? Stephen George said 55 and sunny, and it looks like he's on the East Coast. So yeah, I'm really glad for this East Coast warm weather. Anybody else who's in here, please feel free to post that. I'll circle back up and around. Richard Bird down in Texas, welcome, buddy. I got to spend some time with Richard today on a call that went really well, I think. I'm going to present the Microsoft piece to that here today. He said 77 and sunny, huge turnaround from last week. And Vivek said, all of a sudden, Austin weather is like mild summer. I'm ready for summer. How about you, Brandon?
I don't know. I'm kind of the spring fall type. For summer, it's just so dry. Right. I like that mix. Now, don't get me wrong. You want me to send me like Costa Rica or something like that, I'm there.
Hey man, you say when, and we'll invite you guys and we'll just do the podcast from Costa Rica. I'm in.
There you go. Right.
All right. Little housekeeping for today. We are going to be giving away another $25 gift card. We are going to be asking only 5 questions today, and we want everybody to participate. So, by the way, Richard Bird is the gentleman, and I am going to call him out today, who said his old school CISSP skills might not be able to be beaten in this competition. So, Richard, if you're still on, I expect you to answer these questions quicker than some of these young bucks. Fair?
Oh, I think that's fair, but hold on. He's got to compete against Vivek.
I know. That's what I'm saying. So, Richard, if you're here, refresh your browser real quick so you're getting the quickest LinkedIn stream you can. And we're going to go ahead and jump right in. So, guys, $25 gift card to the person who answers it right, the most right, the quickest. 5 questions. Are you ready? If you guys are ready, give me some thumbs up in the chat. Let's go. I did put you on blast, Richard. I'm excited for today. And David also said it finally hit 40 in Philly. It's like almost warm, but not, right? But at least the snow's melting. So here we go. Should I just jump right in? You ready, Brandon?
So hold on, housekeeping, just to let everyone know, there's actually going to be some changes happening with our platform in the next probably week to 2 weeks. Still going to be on Tuesdays, still going to be at 7:30 start, but some exciting things we're actually going to be looking at building out. So we'll keep you guys posted, but I wanted to let you guys know that we've been asked to evolve this. So we'll keep you posted the next couple of episodes, and let you know how that's going to pan out.
Yeah, we met somebody who's trying to create the first ever kind of cybersecurity news channel on a different platform, but we'll get you guys the information. We're still in talks with them. But we thought that was kind of cool. So, getting some FaceTime with you guys, but hey, we love LinkedIn. We love this crew. We want to, keep delivering quality content for you. So let's go ahead and jump right in. First question. I hope you guys are ready. We are going in very quickly. As soon as I share my screen, feel free to read through it and answer. Remember, whatever answer you post up first, that is your final answer. There are no redos. And question number 1 is, I was supposed to share, is which of the following ensures that a TCB, or trusted computing base, is designed, developed, and maintained with formally controlled standards that enforces protection at each stage of the system's life cycle?
So let's give him a few minutes to take a look at it because I know we're a little bit backlogged. There we go. I see it pop on the screen now. So go.
It is. So A, life cycle assurance, B, operational assurance, C, covert timing assurance, or D, covert storage assurance. Brandon?
So when you look at that first, what are you thinking, Joel? What are you eliminating right from the start?
Well, I always go here. I go, it enforces protection at each stage. So that's talking every stage of the system's life cycle, right? So when I look at this, it looks like we got some answers coming in. I'll let you throw some up on this. Actually, I'll throw some up on the screen. You keep track. But I think about covert timing, not so much. That's hidden. This is at each stage. Covert storage, it's not talking about storage. It's talking about each stage of the system life cycle. It's got to be operational or life cycle. And it says life cycle. So I would personally go life cycle. What about you, Brandon?
I'm aiming towards life cycle.
Let's go ahead and find out. And then we'll circle back and see who the winner is. Correct answer is A, life cycle. And it talks about the Orange Book defining two types of assurance, operational assurance and life cycle assurance. Life cycle assurance ensures that a TCB is designed, developed, and maintained with formally controlled standards. So hold on. Let's head back over here real quick because I was not ready for all these answers to come in. I had Sean with B. Hold on. I got to scroll back up. What was B? That was operational. Vivek with C, Stephen with D, and it says LinkedIn user with A. Who is this LinkedIn user?
David G.
Hold on. David Greer with the first correct answer. Well done, my friend. We had a few others with the correct answer. Salome and Richard, well done, guys. But it looks like David G with the correct answer right out of the gate. So well done. Brandon, will you mark that down for us? And
yep,
I'm going to mark down with you already because I already showed it on accident. What is the main objective of proper separation of duties? A, to prevent employees from disclosing sensitive info, to ensure access controls are in place, to ensure that no single individual can compromise the system, or D, to ensure that audit trails are not tampered with. And sorry, I jumped right into that. I already had it up on the screen. So
there you go. So let's kind of walk through this right now, right? What is the main objective of proper separation of duties? A, to prevent employees from disclosing sensitive information. That's one of the added. That's one of the what you want to get out of it. To ensure access control are in place. No, not necessarily. And then C, to ensure that no single individual can compromise a system. So I'm leaning towards C because D then is to ensure the audit trails are not tampered with.
Well,
that's not separation. All right. So I'm going with C.
Yeah. I mean, these other pieces are,
but not as the main. That's what I'm saying. It's not the main reason.
Objective. So final answer, reveal the solution. It is C, to ensure no single individual can compromise the system by separating those duties. So each individual only has pieces of the system that they're responsible for or need access to. All right, back over to you guys. How'd we do? So that was after. So it looks like Vivek said C first. Ooh, Richard Bird, close second with Poojan, close third. So Vivek, well done. So we got David Greer and Vivek in the house with points on the board. Well done, guys. Looks like a few others got that right. We are moving on to question number 3. You ready, Brandon?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Question 123. This baseline sets certain thresholds for specific errors or mistakes allowed and the amount of these occurrences that can take place before it is considered suspicious. The answer is A, checkpoint level, B, ceiling level, C, clipping level, or D, threshold level. This is a tricky one.
It is.
Because I know which way I want to lean, but I'm leaning, I think I know the answer to this one.
So which way would you lean?
So I see checkpoint level. I know that's not right. I see ceiling level. No, we're not talking about glass ceilings. But what I use the word threshold a lot when I'm talking, but I know that's not the textbook answer, right? So I'm leaning towards C. Is that where you're leaning, Brandon?
Yeah, because checkpoint, ceiling, threshold, I'm kind of like, I don't think it is. I think it is clipping.
Yeah, I think the textbook answer is clipping. But man, if I was just talking to you, I would say threshold, right? Because basically what we're talking about, guys, is baselines set certain thresholds, right? And it uses it here. And that's another reason why, right? It said life cycle earlier. It was a life cycle answer. I don't know. I'm on the fence. It's C or D. You guys ready?
Yep.
Here we go. Clipping level. Yeah, I was on the fence with that threshold one. So it says the clipping level establishes a baseline for violation activities, right? For normal user errors. Only after this baseline is exceeded is a violation record produced. So number of failed login attempts. As soon as you get above that clipping level, that's kind of where you clip it off, and boom, you have an event created, right? Or an alert created. And I'm going to be honest, one of the reasons I know this is because I just worked on clipping levels with my data science team, right? We're digging through O365 logs, and the only way to do it is on a device by device or user by user basis. Because if you try to do it all the way across the board for specific analytics, at least, not policy setting, password settings, but for large environments, some devices and users and accounts have the craziest behaviors that you wouldn't expect. So you have to be able to set clipping levels differently for each device or user. Brandon, who got it first?
Salome. It looks like Salome got it first.
Salome got. Let's see. Are you sure we didn't break it up from the last time?
Well, looking at the timing, I mean, she answered it pretty quickly.
Yeah, you're right. I think Salome in the house. We got 3 people on the board. This is going to be a close one. All right, here we go. Question number 4. In order to enable users to perform tasks and duties without having to go through extra steps, it is important that the security controls and mechanisms that are in place have a degree of A, complexity, B, non-transparency, C, transparency, or D, simplicity. Question 4. Hold on. And I'm seeing Salome saying she said D. She's right. So
Okay.
who said C first?
So then Pujan.
Pujan said C?
Yeah, he was then first then.
Cool. All right. So we still got 3 on the board. And the first to answer this one was Vivek with A. So he believes it needs to have complexity. I've got a D, which is simplicity. I've got a C from Richard, which is transparency. And I don't see any Bs. So let's go through this again. In order to enable users to perform tasks and duties without having to go through extra steps, it is important that security controls and mechanisms that are in place have a degree of complexity. Wouldn't be the answer because it's talking about having something more simplistic. So I'm going to lean toward transparency or simplicity. Brandon, which one are you leaning towards on this?
Transparency.
Transparency.
So complexity. You don't want to have a degree of complexity, right? You don't want to be more challenging.
Well done.
Non-transparency, you want to be able to see and understand it. Simplicity, that could be a possibility, right? But you don't want to be too simplistic. You want to see through it. You want transparency.
Yeah, so it says have a degree of. You don't want to be fully transparent. But the interesting thing that it states here in the answer is transparency also does not let the user know too much about the controls, which helps prevent him from figuring out how to circumvent him. But you need a degree of transparency so that you don't have to go through extra steps because of the presence of those. So yeah, great job. So who got that one first?
That was Richard.
Richard Bird in the house. Well done, Richard. All right. Is that 4? That's 4 people. All right. So we need
we've got David, Vivek, Pujan, and then Richard.
So guys, we got to have a tiebreaker. So it's got to be one of those 4 people will be walking away with the $25 Buffalo Wild Wings or Amazon gift card.
Or we're going all night with the questionnaires. No.
Or we're going all night with the questionnaires. So no. What the next person out of those 4 who gets this one, the 5th question right the quickest, wins the gift card. Fair?
Fair.
All right. Here we go. I'll give everybody 2 seconds to refresh your page. 1 Mississippi. 2 Mississippi, they should have live data. Everybody should be ready to rock. And final question of the night, question 125. Here we go. Which of the following rules is least likely to support the concept of least privilege? Okay, so this is going to be fun because least likely to support the concept. A, the number of administrative accounts should be kept to a minimum. B, administrators should use regular accounts when performing routine operations like reading mail. Okay. C, permissions on tools that are likely to be used by hackers should be restrictive as possible. Or D, only data to and from critical systems and applications should be allowed through the firewall. This is a tricky one.
It is.
This is least likely to support least privilege. Now, what is least privilege? It's only giving people access to the information or data that is required to do their job. So what is the one that least goes in that direction? Hold on. Let's find our 4 in the chat real quick. Let's see what we got. So we've got, Vivek, you answered first and then you say you're lost on this. So Vivek's got an A. Pujan's got a B. I've got David with the first, second. Oh, the first B.
Sean.
But Sean didn't have points yet.
I know. You got Sean. You got David.
Yep.
And then you got Peter that chimed in with B.
And so Richard might as well say C, right? Because then he'd be the first C, and then we go with it from there. So Richard, say C, and then
say the right answer. What do you think is right? Don't listen to Joe.
Well, least privilege. Yeah, hackers should have no permissions, right? So that's fine. Admins should use regular accounts when performing. Yep, that's least privilege.
But what's least likely?
That's also least privilege though, right? Because you don't want too many. I'm going to have to go D. Only data to and from critical systems and apps should be allowed through the firewall. That doesn't really support least privilege. So let's find out. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm going with D as well.
It's D. So who was the first one with D in the house?
Sean.
No. Well, yes, Sean, but the first tiebreaker with D was David Greer.
David Greer, yeah.
All right, everybody. So give it up for David Greer on this one. Give him some thumbs up. Celebrate with some claps here in the chat. Congratulations, David Greer. If you will private message me your email address and just say Amazon or Buffalo Wild Wings, or if you're married, Target. Well, let me know what kind of gift card you want. You'll have that by tomorrow morning in your inbox. So congrats. But Sean, yes, Sean did say he answered this one correctly. We need another question, but I already said it would be a tiebreaker. So I apologize, Sean. Also, the next couple questions were too easy. They were all CIA stuff. You guys would have had no problem. All right. Congrats, guys. I had a lot of fun with that. How about you, Brandon?
Oh, it was good. I mean, that's the thing. That's why we're here, right?
Yep, absolutely. So everybody's saying congrats. He said, yay, me. So congrats, David. Thanks for playing, guys. Thank you for participating. Once again, guys, we're going to be doing this Tuesdays and Thursdays, giving away $25 gift cards. And we want you to come for the gift card, but then stay for the content. So today's content is really jumping into not essential security protection mechanisms. Yes, it is. Essential security protection mechanisms. We're going to be jumping into technical mechanisms. And I think also a little policy towards the end, if I'm not mistaken, Brandon.
I think so as well.
Awesome.
Now, just a quick question. Just everyone give us a thumbs up or say you guys are connected, because I know LinkedIn is having some problems today, and it looked like we just went down for a second.
Oh, did we freeze? If we froze, sometimes LinkedIn does that. You guys just got to refresh the page. Sean says he's out. I'm sorry, Sean. We had to have a tiebreaker, and it had to be a good one. So next on Thursday, right? Come back Thursday. Come win it, Sean.
Yeah, let us know if you guys are still connected, because I just saw on our LinkedIn it just dropped.
Yep. And David said he wants the Amazon gift card. So David, I will absolutely get that to you. Thank you guys for participating, and great job with the quick and efficient answers. So
yeah, we're still up. I know LinkedIn had some problems today. And they had some, I think it was around 2:00. Did you know that, Joel? Or
I was off LinkedIn all day, but I did see somebody say that the whole platform went down. So
I think they might still be having a little bit of problems.
Yep, that's okay. Let's jump right in. Let's keep everybody with us. Real quick, a little housekeeping. Sean Delane actually, he said, just kidding. Well, good, because I got to give you a shout out, Sean. Sean Delane brought something to my attention. And if you guys haven't seen these yet, I'm going to throw these links real quick in the chat. Sean Delane posted this, cybernews.com, personal data leak check. That is a place where you can go see some of the more current data dumps and check your email, see if your information has been leaked. The other one that I use is haveibeenpawned.com. These are both great ones where you can go check your email or your spouse's or your parents' or aunts, uncles, kids' email addresses on to see if they've been part of a recent data breach. And if they have, it'll tell you what pieces of data and what you should go change. So if the password was leaked, please go change that. It's good to be aware where your information is being shared.
It's awesome.
Cool. I think my LinkedIn is frozen too. So yeah, something's going on with LinkedIn.
Well, Richard was just saying there's a huge spike on down detector.
Okay. So we'll try.
It might be going down again.
That's okay. Well, if nothing else, whoever still is up with us, we will try to rip through this. We want to get you some of this.
Hold on. If they go down, jump over to YouTube. We're on YouTube. So just so you guys know, we're on the actual YouTube channel. So you guys can check us out there. Just in case it does go down, you guys can keep studying with us because we're up on LinkedIn as well as YouTube.
Cool. So here is the Cyber Incision YouTube channel if you guys want to switch over there. But yeah. Cool. And feel free, guys, if you want to subscribe to that YouTube channel, I'm happy to have it. I've got like a total of 57 subscribers, so I'm like YouTube famous, right, Brandon?
You are YouTube famous. 5 more, and that's it. You're gonna get one of those plaques.
Dude, I'm maxed out. I am maxed out. All right, guys, but let's jump into this content. Remember, essential security protection mechanisms. First is design concepts, right? Now, remember this: LAST, L-A-S-T, and what that stands for is L is layering. A is abstraction, S is security domains, and T is the ring or the trusted computing base ring, right? So LAST. Now, it should actually be LSAR, but nobody's going to remember that, right? So LAST is what you need to remember for essential security protection mechanisms: layering, abstraction, security domains, and the ring. So layering or separating the design into distinct parts like hardware drivers, operating systems, and applications. That's layering. And we'll touch on that here in a bit. Now, abstraction, it kind of like it's an abstract painting. And my wife's an artist, so I always bring it back to that. But you never really know what the artist is thinking because it's all kind of hidden from you as the viewer, right? Sometimes you can tell that there may have been a concept that the painting was built around, but it's an abstract painting, right? It's not a landscape. It's not a seascape. It's abstract. Now, as an example, let's say this. Okay, let's say you click on one of those links in your browser, right? HaveIBeenPwned.com. You as the user, you see the web page painted on your screen, right? You're not going to see the whole database or all the electronic work going on when it's querying that database after you enter your kid's email in there, right? There's going to be screen painting happening, file lookups, queries of the database. All you're going to see is the screen and the results. That's intentional, and that's abstraction. Right? Abstraction is data encapsulation and hiding data when you're not supposed to see it. Now, next is the security domains, remember? So LAST, layering, abstraction, security domains, the ring. In security domains, think 2 things: user mode, supervisor mode, or admin mode, or root, or sudo, either way. But users can do what they've been allowed to do, and supervisor mode is able to do anything, right? So on Linux, if you're root, you have access to everything. Mm-hmm. And finally, the ring. Now, we've touched the ring a number of times, but I'll let Brandon jump us through it again here in a moment. Now, it's not like a ring that you give to your spouse, right? This is a security designed ring that says to the closer to the center of the ring you are, the more restrictive the security, but the more permissions you have. And Brandon and Richard Bird is on my side. He said sudo. So good stuff. Oh, and also some context that Sean said. He said COMB, it's the largest breach of all time, leaked online with 3.2 billion records. And the website we linked above that Sean shared with us is that database. So please, please, please check your data. Mine's not on there, so. Nah, but it's really hit or miss, right? All right.
Oh, yeah.
So, Brandon, jump us into technical mechanisms real quick.
So the technical mechanisms are the controls that the system designers can build right into their systems. We look at 5. Look at the 5: layering, abstraction, data hiding, process isolation, and hardware segmentation.
Yeah, so let's jump into layering real quick. And Vivek said, "Am I sure?" Oh, my data leaked in there. Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he hasn't checked recently.
I know, I should probably check again now that he's questioning me. Let me go ahead and
probably got a screenshot right now. He's ready to drop on you.
No, I'm in Have I Been Pawned for sure a number of times. But let's talk layering, right? So these are kind of the layers. It's also the ring. But this is talking about levels, right? So when we're talking about levels, you can see the privilege levels up in the right. The 0 to 3, those are your levels, right? And it's layering of these. Now, the hard part is the ring and layers are synonymous, right? They're just two different ways of describing it and visualizing the security, right? So this is actually the ring, but you have to realize that layering's happening in the background, and it kind of all comes back to this core concept of the I just disappeared for a second. But so basically what you're looking at is it puts the most sensitive functions of the process at the core, surrounded by the larger centric circles with the lower sensitivity of data. Now, the interesting thing I always pictured is when you have this, imagine a thief, right? You have a robber. If he can bypass, if he can go right to ring 0, none of the other security layers matter, right? If the jewels are at ring 0 and he can walk, drop in from the ceiling and get to ring 0, why did you have those other security drivers in place? Well, that's why they're there, right? Is so one can talk to the next, but it can't see into the next, which has the inner workings and the different controls in place to restrict that the process is running, basically.
In between each of the layers.
You got it. So let's jump into the levels compared to rings as well. Brandon, do you want to kick us off with
so many of the go ahead.
It's just an analogy that it's jumping into, but go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Many of the features and restrictions of the protecting ring concepts apply also to a multi-layer or multi-level system. Think about a high-rise apartment building. The low-rent apartments are often found in the lower floors. As you reach the middle floors, the apartments are often larger and offer better views. Finally, the top floor or floors is the most lavish and expensive, often deemed the penthouse. Usually, if you're living in the low rent apartments in the building, you're unable to ride the elevators any higher than the higher floors of the low rent apartments. If you're on the middle apartment residence, you can ride the elevators everywhere except for the penthouse. And if you're in the penthouse resident, you can ride the elevators anywhere you want to go. You may also find that this floor restriction systems in office buildings and hotels. Yeah. You may also have an elevator that operates directly between the lowest level and the penthouse level, thus bypassing all lower levels. However, the direct elevator is breached. The other layers of protection are of no value. So that's what you're talking about, the layers there, and you're showing that out and bringing up that diagram. When you're looking at that, that's exactly what you're talking about. Each of those layers, depending on where you have the if you're able to get access. But if you get breached on one layer, you can't see the others.
Well, can I be totally honest with you? And I think maybe my Robert description, I like your elevator one better because I actually do this for work. Now, Richard, don't tell HR, but my key card does not work in the elevator at my office. Thankfully, we're on floor 4, right? Because I can basically wait for somebody to go in and scan. And if most people are higher than floor 4, and then you can push that, and then they scan and push that, right? So it's like I can just get onto my floor, no problem. So
you tailgate?
Basically tailgating, yep. But then you also have to scan in to get into my office, and it works for that. So it's just the elevator. But hey, that's separation of duties, right? You may have to get up to go anyways.
Right.
I'm stretching now.
There you go.
No, but spot on, right? So if you could separate these layers, if they can only communicate with one another through specific interfaces designed to maintain the system in integrity, even though the less secure outer layers depend on the services and data from those inner layers, they only know how to interface with those layers, but they're not privy to the inner workings, right? To the actual characteristics or the details involved in producing the result.
And all right. Peter saying, guess I'll find out on Monday.
Yeah, Peter, are you going into our Tyson's Corner office? I'd love to hear. It's actually a pretty cool office. It overlooks the highway, so I'm always looking for cool cars driving by. I like cool cars. All my friends are buying cool cars right now. I don't even have a car. I sold mine when COVID came around. Did you? You have a car?
Yeah, I have a Subaru.
But you just work from home. I could see you being a Subaru guy.
I do. I work from home, but yeah, because my wife drives up and sees her parents and stuff, and they're out in the suburbs, and our winters are bad. So yeah, I wanted to get it, make sure she had a 4x4.
Okay, so here we go. Who was that? David Greer who posted that? A former employee would only allow you to get an elevator to your floor in the cafeteria unless you were management. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, and that's how it should be, right? And now here's the kicker, right? Like, let's say management could get all the way to the top floor. They probably have access to all the lower ones, right?
And then Richard's saying here, do you also use compressed air to bypass the security door?
No, but it was funny, Richard. They were doing a physical pen test of one of our locations, and the pen tester had a balloon. He basically snuck it through the door, and he blew it up, and he let it go, and it went, and it tripped the motion detector, and he could open the door.
Nice.
I was like, that's clever. And it was funny because I was in the SIOC watching him taking his picture, posting it on the company-wide Slack channel as he did it. So anyways, good times.
It's awesome.
But no, good stuff. All right. But yeah, quick poll. What do you guys drive? Throw your type of car in the comments. I want to see.
Subaru Crosstrek is fine. What about yourself, Joel? Do you have a car?
No, I used to have a Cadillac ATS. I really liked that thing. It was all blacked out. But yeah, I basically sold it and I bought a rental property before this whole COVID thing went down. So used it as a down payment for a rental.
So what are you gonna do when you go back to work?
I am at work.
No, but like, are you always gonna be working from home?
We're fully remote. My wife has a Jeep that I'll use if I got to go down to the Tyson's office, but I don't have a car, and it's kind of been awesome. So I Uber if I have to, and that's that.
There you go.
Yeah, so good stuff. So here we go. We got some Hyundais. I think those are good, right? Huge long warranties. So keep it coming, guys. What do you guys drive? We'll keep going on content. All right, next is abstraction. This is one of the fundamental principles that Vivek is learning about right now, because if I'm not mistaken, if I scroll all the way to the top of this chat, is it going to let me? It does. Let's see what he said. Where is it? Oh, it's not letting me. Aha, there it is. He said he's been learning Java at his work. Well, Java is object-oriented programming, and it builds abstraction into it. Now, it's the black box doctrine that says users of an object, right? So if you're using an object, they don't actually know the details about the object. So if I go and I define an object, right? And it can have all kinds of, it's red, it's this fast, it has this capability, whatever that object has, the user doesn't know all of that. It just knows how to use that object. That's abstraction, right? And this is very much what's involved when you're mediating access to data or services. When a user mode application uses a system call to request administrator mode services or data that's at a different privilege level or to a different object, right? It could be granted or denied depending on their credentials, rather than obtaining direct unmediated access, right? So that's how object-oriented programming works.
Mouthful.
Yep. It's been a while since I've spent time programming Java, but basically when we're jumping into abstraction, the way it applies in security is basically object groups, or sometimes they're called classes, right? And this is what you apply access controls to in operating system rights. You assign it to groups of objects, which are typically users and accounts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and yep, Vivek's spot on. Vivek, quit skipping ahead, man. He said encapsulation and abstraction. We're almost there. Let me go ahead and pull that up because he's already there. He's beat me to it. But let's talk through some of that real fast. Let me show you what it looks like. And if I could find it. Sorry, guys, I should have looked ahead. Here somewhere. Aha, got it. Cool. So here we go. So this is, you can see the big green circle is your data abstraction, right? So all the data is in there, but then it is able to hide information, right? So you're only able to see certain information. And then the data encapsulation is hiding of all of that data, right? So you're able to hide certain information, but then you're able to encapsulate others so that nobody can actually see that data. But through the abstraction layer, you can access the data, even though some of it may be hidden. So hope that works. And it looks like Vivek's reading through the book as well. No, hey, that's good stuff, man. Also, Vivek, when are you taking the exam next? We were talking through it. Brandon said it cost him $1,000 to take the exam.
Canadian.
That's where he got. I think it's only $6.99 here in the States, but still CISSP $6.99.
Yeah, I think it's only $300 American, $1,000 Canadian. Our dollar's terrible compared to yours.
That's pretty bad. Also, some more cars in the house. We got a Peter Franklin in a Mini Cooper. Those Countrymans are cool. We also got a Volkswagen EOS. Is that the coupe, Sean? Then we got a truck guy. Peter Franklin's also got the Chevy Colorado. I used to live in Colorado, so I dig those trucks. But yeah, Vivek, $6.99 American, $1,000 Canadian. So, but yeah, so data encapsulation, data abstraction. Once again, you only need to know the basics for the exam, right? What is it? Which one is it? When I'm talking about data abstraction, can you tell the difference between data abstraction and data encapsulation? So in order to prepare you for those types of questions, I've got another picture because you guys know how much I love pictures.
You got a chart.
I got a chart. And you know what? I think it's only here in this. So let me take a quick screenshot of it. Zoom out.
And then Peter, I want to know your Mini Cooper. Is it really truly fast? I think it has trying to think, it was a Jaguar engine in it.
Beamer.
BMW.
Beamer? Yeah. Those are cool cars. All right, here we go. I'm ready. Yeah, I got a buddy building a kit. A guy I work with, he's building a kit car. Have you ever heard of these?
Yeah.
Basically, it's like an old Mustang kit. It looks pretty sweet. You know, but they sucker you in. The kit is only, the kit is only 10, 15 grand. But then once you talk engine and parts, and if you want seats, you're going to spend 40, 50K easy. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that, guys. Back to the content. Let's jump in. So when we're talking data abstraction, it's an object-oriented programming concept that hides the implementation details and shows only the functionality to the user. Talked about that. It hides the implementation details to reduce the complexity of the code, right? So if you can have a bunch of objects that are defined, and then you have a user that's going to reach out and grab an object or query something, it makes the code easier because then you can define things earlier on and you can just reference them later in the code. Also, abstraction talks about object-oriented programming languages that abstract the classes and interfaces to achieve data abstraction. Cool. So everybody set? Give me a thumbs up if you got data abstraction. Let's jump over and Brandon, walk me through the first couple of encapsulation.
So data hiding. Let me walk through that. Data hiding is an important characteristic in multi-level secure systems. It ensures that data. What's that?
You looking at the picture on the screen?
No, sorry. Which one do you want me to go through?
So remember, in abstraction, there's data hiding in that, but also in that is data encapsulation. So on here is data encapsulation. Walk me through that one real quick in the purple chart.
So object-oriented program concepts that binds or wraps the data and methods together in a single unit, right? Compared to the other one. And then second is hide data from the purpose of data protection. So it's a little bit more secure on that side. Then OOP language can achieve encapsulation by making the data member private and accessing them through public methods.
That's it, right? So you have public and private methods. Public methods can be, used outside of the program or by different programs. Private methods can only be used within. So remember, if your data abstraction, if it's hiding the implementation details to reduce code complexity, if you're doing it for security, it's going to be that encapsulation side of things. All right. So how's everybody feel about that? Give me some thumbs up, some claps if you guys are good. We're going to jump on down into data hiding, and that's where you were skipping ahead on me once again, Brandon.
I was reading ahead. I was getting ready.
Go ahead. Jump in.
So data hiding is an important characteristic in multi-level secure systems. It ensures that data exists at a lower level of security, is not visible to process running at different security levels. The key concept behind data hiding is a desire to make sure that those who have no need to know the details involved in accessing and processing data at one level have no way to learn or observe those different, covertly or isolated, illicit from the other. From a security perspective, data hiding relies on placing objects in security containers that are different from those that subjects occupy to hide objects detail from those who need to know about them.
So from a security perspective, data hiding relies on placing objects in security containers that are different from those that subjects occupy to hide object details from those who with no need to know about them, right? So when you're hiding data, if you don't have a need to know, you won't see it. If you have a need to know, you will see it. That's where data hiding comes in. And it's within data abstraction. And then to take it a step further, data encapsulation is hiding it completely, so for security purposes, right? And I think we had some, there we go. Also, Sean's rocking the coupe. I'm a little jelly. I can't go to a coupe until these kids get a little older. Also, Peter said that his Mini Cooper's fast enough to get him in trouble. Back on topic, though, Vivek said they're called modifiers in object-oriented programming, private, public, protected, basically access modifiers within the data abstraction layer. So cool stuff. And hold on, Sean had a quick comment. Let's read through it. The last picture you showed of the data encapsulation reminded me of what I've seen in the heliosphere and heliopause. NASA showed an image of Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 as they were nearing the interstellar space. Sean, that sounds awesome. Can you please share a link with that picture? I'd love to throw it up on the screen. Also, if you guys didn't see the new Perseverance rover landed on Mars, pretty cool stuff. So,
Nice.
did you see that, Brandon?
No, I didn't.
What? Yeah, so this one's they basically got videos of it. It's got a drone on it. My neighbor actually worked on it. Friggin' awesome, right? But it's got a little quadcopter drone that's going to fly around Mars and check it out, look for life, water, and microbials. So
Nice. That'd be kind of cool.
let me pull up this. I want to pull up this link real quick. Oh yeah, that does look awesome. And it looks exactly like that. So great share. You could basically, let me see if I can zoom in a bit. Wrong, zoom in, there we go. It says NASA 2 Voyager spacecraft has detected an increase in cosmic rays that originate outside our solar system. Currently, the probe is approximately 11 billion miles from Earth. So you can see the heliosphere, and then you can see where Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 are, and they're detecting increased cosmic rays. I have no idea what that means, but it sounds pretty cool. So awesome. Great share, though, Sean. And that does look exactly like the picture. So for any of you who were not quite paying attention when I showed it last time, let me throw it up on the screen again to show you the similarities. There we go. So I'm not sure if this is going to help them on the exam, Sean, but correct me if I'm wrong. But think about cosmic radiation and cosmic rays when you think data abstraction.
There you go.
Who knows who that little tidbit could help? But there you go. Data abstraction and data encapsulation. All right. Process isolation. So guys, we're sitting at 8:13. We're probably going to end a little early tonight. We only have, I think, 3 little sections to go, 3 or 4 little sections to go. So we're going to go ahead and jump through them real quick. I got some cool pictures for you to help really make it stick. And let's jump right in. So process isolation is going to require your OS to provide separate memory spaces for each process's instructions and data, right? So we talked about this kind of when we were talking about threading, and the different cores on a system, right? But this requires your OS to enforce boundaries, right? Preventing one process from reading or writing data that belongs to another process. And there's 2 huge advantages to this technique. Brandon, walk me through the first.
First one is to prevent unauthorized data access. Process isolation is one of the fundamental requirements in a multi-level security mode system.
I mean, spot on, right? If it's isolated and you can't access the data from each, you don't have data leakage, right?
Exactly.
It's going to protect the integrity of your processes, right? So preventing unauthorized data access and the integrity, right? So confidentiality and integrity. Sounds familiar. There we go. All right, so let me go ahead and get this image up. I think a good description is going to help on this one so you guys can see it. Let it burn into your memories. Let me go ahead and pull this up for you guys real quick. Oh. Here we go. All right, so process isolation. Think Microsoft Word. It's running on a computer. It's got its own memory. It's called its address space. And the address space is an area of memory that only one running program can access. This is done to ensure correct operation, security, and protection, along with integrity. Good stuff. Brandon, any additional comments on that guy?
No, I think this is good to know, especially guys when you're looking at security, when you're looking at programming and developing applications. I mean, this is something to keep in mind as you're going, right? I know for our team and all that, when they're looking at like the OWASP strategies and things like that, to have this depth of this is very important, right? When they're reviewing. What do you think, Joe? Because I mean, this is what you do day in and day out.
I don't know about process isolation, right, at the OS level, but yeah, I mean, I think understanding this, and then also you brought it in. The next one is where it fits in, right? And I think this is really cool because Brandon and I have this really cool working relationship where it's like we're digging into stuff, and he's got ideas, and it just helps bring this whole thing together, full 360. So, in other
Well,
words, Brandon, I appreciate you.
so I wanted to ask you then, Joel, like when you're looking at this, are these areas that a hacker or someone like a pen tester can compromise?
I mean, so do you remember the Spectre meltdown stuff we talked about?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, right. So that's memory leakage.
And that's what my point is that you guys know as security experts, as you're developing, as you're doing this, even, the higher levels, this is the one where you have to know, right? When you're coding and programming to know that, because I know there's a lot of people you deal with, and not the same with me, that they're application developers, right? And they're developing it works with the operating system, works with the processor, works with all that. So they have to understand all these layers as they're going through.
Yep, absolutely. Vivek says dirty reads, dirty writes. We also said, Richard said, how about memory leak attacks, right? Allocated and failed to free up when no longer needed. Yeah, spot on, right? If it's still in use, yeah, there's all kinds of memory leaks. And we actually covered this, what was that, 3-4 weeks ago, Brandon?
I think so.
We went pretty hard into different types of memory leaks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good stuff. So, but let's kind of bring this full circle. So where does the process isolation kind of map in? Well, when we talk about major advances in memory management, the operation system has 5 principal storage management responsibilities. Now, the text is going to be a little small, so hopefully you guys can see that. But the one on the far left, one of the major advancements in OS is process isolation. Have we done it perfectly? No. Do humans do anything perfectly? No. But it's a major advancement. The next is automatic allocation and management of memory, support modular programming, right? That's huge. Protection and access control at the OS level, and then long-term storage. And what that means down here is many apps require means for storing info for long periods of time, even after the program's been powered down. So now we're not just talking about random access memory, we're talking about long-term storage and isolating that memory as well.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. So let's go ahead. And I think, is that all we had for process isolation, Brandon?
I think so. And then it goes into hardware segmentation.
Oh, I like this one. And you can tell them the story or not, but go ahead, jump us into this one.
Well, hardware segmentation is similar to process isolation in Propose. It prevents the access of information that belongs to a different process/security level. The main difference is the hardware segmentation enforces these requirements through the use of physical hardware controls rather than logical process isolation controls imposed by an operating system. Such implementations are rare, and they are generally restricted to national security implementations where the extra cost and complexity is offset by the sensitivity of the information involved and the risk inherited in unauthorized access or disclosure.
Spot on. So let's jump through. Now, when we're talking about hardware segmentation, a lot of people may think something like this, right? And let's walk through this. This is the picture of a data center. This is hardware, and it is segmented. So you have UPSs over here. You have your data processing here. It's all properly ventilated. Hardware segmentation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's
what Joel, which picture would you want to get for hardware segmentation? This one looks great. Joel's like, that's not what we're talking about today.
But I mean, most people, right? If you're not thinking about, okay, well, how does it relate to development and programming, computer systems? You hear hardware, your head immediately goes to physical hardware in a data center, separating it, cooling it, what type of fire extinguishers to use for each, right? Hardware segmentation. What it's talking about here, though, Brandon, I love that because I think that's a common misconception, right? But it also gives us a chance to learn. So when we're talking about segmentation, this is what we're talking about. And this is kind of a logical view of it, but it's very similar to allocation, right? Being able to allocate that memory for each and process isolation, it's very similar. So here's how the segmentation works. You have your different segments, and then you have the base addresses along with the limits stored in a segment table. And then you can see where those segments are placed, and that is hardware segmentation, right? And this is your physical address space that is then taken up. So yeah, so Richard Bird said, so that is what's inside a cloud. Yeah, remember guys, cloud is just somebody else's computer that you typically don't have root on. Yay. But no, the cloud is great. And I'm still amazed by the amount of security controls that were given in a cloud environment. So Brandon, finish this up with me. So hardware segmentation, how are you going to remember it going forward?
So for me, how I'm going to remember this, it's more of the actual development, the application versus the actual network separation, like VLANs or anything like that. So for me, that's where I'm going to remember it. It's going to be that picture. That's what's going to remind me is no. When you're talking about like network segmentation, it's actually the application, right? It's actually at that level. It's not the server room or, VLANs or anything along that line.
Yeah, no. And I agree. I think it's going to really stick home though, now that we've had this talk, right? And that's why we're here, guys. That's why we're here with you, because also bringing in your comments, like Peter said, long-term storage used to be an issue when SSDs first came out. Huge issue, right? It's still, I mean, forensics still can pull stuff off SSDs after you've even wiped it, right? So long-term storage is going to continue to be an issue as we continue to use flash. Peter also said where to put the door in this picture is probably going to be part of the CISSP mindset, and you're probably not wrong. But no, absolutely. And then we also had, oh, that's interesting. Was that David Greer? He was thinking more along the lines of rings on CPU, etc. And while we touched on that, that's not what I found in regards to the hardware segmentation. But if you can prove me wrong, David, I would love to see the content, and I'm happy to bring it back up next week if you have a different picture of the hardware segmentation.
For sure.
But that's how I've studied it and interpreted it out of the book. And I believe I did pull this out of a CISP guide somewhere, but don't quote me on that.
Right.
All right. Let's go ahead and kick on to the next segment real quick. Next segment is going to be, okay, security policy and computer architecture. Guys, we're wrapping up. We're going to touch on 2 more things, but we're going to dig a little deeper into them, and then we're going to wrap up for the day. So Brandon, kick us off.
Yeah. So just as security policy guides the day-to-day security operations, processes, and procedures in organization, it has an important role to play when designing and implementing systems. This is equally true whether a system is entirely hardware-based, entirely software-based, or a combination of both.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And if Vivek said, why not? David's on fire, and he's right? That the lines of rings on a CPU, et cetera, that is technically hardware segmentation. If you have an example of that, share it. Let's throw it up on the screen, David. I would love to see it. If you can find a good picture, this was one of the hardest parts of finding a good picture to demonstrate this, right? And that's where the data center picture came from. So good stuff. So, yep, security policy and computer architecture. Security policy is best encountered in the form of a document that defines a set of rules, practices, and procedures that defines how the system should manage, protect, and distribute sensitive information. Now, as the system is developed, the security policy should be designed, built, implemented, and tested as you go through the development process. This should include physical hardware components, firmware, software, and how people and the organization interact with it and use the system. David said he'll research and see us next week. I dig it. So go ahead. What's
right. The overall point is that security needs to be considered the entire life of the project. When security is applied only at the end, it typically fails.
Right. So when you're building security into this comes back to some of the questions we've been doing throughout these sessions. Let's talk principle of least privilege.
Right. So managing, identifying, and authentication. Discuss the general security principles of least privilege and how it applies to users of a computing system. The principle is also important to design of computers and operating systems, especially when applied to system nodes. When designing operating system processes, you should always ensure that they run in user mode whenever possible. The greater the number of processes that they execute in the privilege mode, the higher the number of potential vulnerabilities that a malicious individual could exploit to gain supervisors' access to the system. In general, it's better to use APIs to ask for supervisors mode services or to pass control to trusted, well-protected supervisor mode processes as they needed for within user mode applications, then it is the elevated such program or process of supervisors mode to altogether.
Okay, so let's break that down a bit. Fair?
Yep. Fair.
Okay, so first and foremost, let's get this formal definition, least privilege, up on the screen. You will see this on a CISSP exam, potentially even Security Plus and a number of other exams. The principle of least privilege stems from the idea that users should only have access to what they can adequately perform, so that they need, so that they can adequately perform the duties that they're required to do. Check. Everybody got a thumbs up for that one? Let's move on. How do you enforce this in an organization?
So now, hold on, let's take a step back, Joe, because they're talking about development here, right? So the whole kind of process today is not just development of least privileges on the individual, meaning you have access to an application. Right. This is when you're developing, you should develop in a secure code that has the least amount of privileges and access, then use APIs and another access to then grant, supervisor privileges. So that's kind of the overall concept of that.
You got it. And what you just described was PAM. And I'm not talking about the cooking spray. I'm talking about privileged access management. Mm-hmm. This is where you define the roles and the least privilege required. You're going to go through and you discover how that applies to your application. You're going to manage and protect it. You're going to monitor it, detect abnormal usage through thresholds and clipping layers. Clipping. And when it exceeds the clipping, right, you'll create an event or alert to detect the abnormal usage, respond to those incidents, review and then audit on a regular basis to ensure least privilege. So if you need to know, this is kind of the PAM, it's called the PAM lifecycle, privileged access management lifecycle, and this goes round and round forever and ever. Cool?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cool. Let's jump into kind of what this looks like in regards to least privilege, and then we'll talk benefits, and then like the CISSP talk around it. You'll be proud of me, Brandon. How do you pitch this to the board member? Anyways, we'll get there.
We'll get there, because if we do all this technical talk, they'll be like, huh? What does this mean?
What does this mean? So guys, this the red means you have privileges, the green means low privileges. High risk practice, the admin, you have an admin users, and they have total unrestricted reign of your database servers, whatever that picture is depicting. The common practice is you have admins and users, and then they can access the resources. That's pretty common, right? We see that in small organizations, mid-sized organizations. Admins have admin access, users have user access. Mm-hmm. That's not least privilege. So let's jump into least privilege and what kind of this looks like on a deeper level. This is with privilege management, right? So now we're privilege access management lifecycle. Boom, you're looking on the left-hand side. So you can see now the admin has vaulted encrypted checkout. There's a firewall between the admin and the resources. The end users require two-factor authentication, which requires a password, a token, and a cert, right? Now you're using privilege access management in your organization. And then on the right-hand side, you're using that and least privilege. And let's walk through what that looks like. So now you have the best control is what it says. You have black, white, and gray listings, right? So what applications should be used? Black lists are things that should never be used. And I think gray lists are sometimes, right? If the conditions are met, they could be used. You're also doing real-time evaluation of users using the resources. You then have your firewall, and you have JS Smith, who in the other side would have been your admin, but he's no longer admin unless he's required to do so. So the admin only has access to those permissions, and it's restricted. It has restricted JS Smith. Okay, so you have JS Smith. After two-factor authentication will then become a semi-privileged. You check for the privilege, make sure it's audited and secured. You monitor that, and then they can escalate privileges into the admin when needed. That's giving them least privilege and only giving them access to the resources when it's required. Did I explain that, or did I just run in circles, Brandon?
No, it makes sense. I mean, okay. Everyone give me a thumbs up. Makes sense. I was actually just thinking, right? One of the tools, do you guys know any tools that are out there that do PAM?
Yeah, that's a great segment. Do you mind if I derail us a little bit and then come back to PAM?
Go.
Cool. So I actually did a presentation today for InfraGuard with Richard. Actually, Richard invited me to do a presentation for them. And in that presentation, I got to talk about SolaraGate and Sunburst. And I'm not sure if you guys saw this news this week, but Microsoft actually confirmed that their source code was leaked. And I'd like to kind of show you the stretch and potential impact of this. So we talked about mobile device management in one of the previous weeks recently, and this directly impacts that. So I know Sean said you've used Intune. A number of other individuals did as well. But let's talk about this source code leak. So when SolaraGate first happened, they said they saw our source code, but they most likely didn't get it. My talk track around that is if they see it, chances are they have it. But now they confirmed their source code leak. So let's walk through this real quick. So Microsoft president says, hey, it's the most sophisticated attack ever. What was leaked? Well, Azure, they had service, security, and portions of identity leaked. They also had Exchange components leaked, and they had Intune components. So Brandon, I wanted to get a really good visual for the people I was giving this presentation to. Like, what does that impact, right? So, okay, you got Azure Security Center, got it, right? You can manage your instance of Azure, and that may be impacted, great. But what about Exchange? Take a peek at Exchange and the reach it has. It's not just email. Yes, it does advanced email, but it can access your contacts. It can access shared folders. It can now access multiple accounts and access into multiple devices. Imagine what that source code can do in the hands of somebody who wants it maliciously.
Right.
But then we get into Intune, and look at Intune.
Wow.
Intune is looking to replace a large amount of security features within Azure. And it is a large portion. And look how much Intune interacts with almost everything in a hybrid or a fully cloud environment.
Right. Wow.
So I was telling people, look, it's not about what the Russians will do. You know, are they going to go create their own Azure cloud on their own data centers? Maybe. That's not the real issue at hand, right? The real issue at hand is this is the new security suite, and that the source code is out there for those who want to analyze it and abuse it at a global scale. So really scary stuff because, I mean, like we talked about, it's got access to mobile threat defense connector, network access control partner, APIs, O360, right? It's all built in. It's an ecosystem. So anyways, I derailed this conversation a bit, but I thought that was kind of a cool follow-up to our MDM conversation we had last week.
No, yeah, it's completely relevant, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Richard said MDM gone wild. Once again, Richard, thanks for having me on that InfraGuard meeting. That was a lot of fun. Some great questions and awesome individuals on there. Yeah, so Sean, that is quite likely a possibility. And the interesting thing with SolarGate is we talked about logging. And we had clients who were impacted and they go, look, I got the logs and I dug through all the logs and I still didn't see what I wanted to see, right? So even the logging from Azure needs to step it up a level because they charge a ton for you to do it, and it might not give the visibility our security researchers need in order to protect themselves. So, and then Peter, great comment. He also said every mobile device with Outlook and MDM on it could be impacted or have a hook in it someday. We don't know, right? We just don't know. All right, let's get back to PAM real quick, because when you're going to adapt PAM into this, there's a number of things. And I wanted to bring this into kind of like real world. Like, okay, how do you implement privileged access management? Well, there's a lot to it.
So now, just before you jump in that, remember the question I asked? So what are the tools? What are some applications?
Intune.
Well, then you look at, David said, right? He said, actually, CyberArk, Beyond Trust. Those are actually companies that actually have the privileged access management utility, right? That you can use in your environment. So things to look at as you're, looking at different solutions for this, right? For PAM.
Yep. No, great point. I was trying to respond to Vivek in the chat. I was trying to be clever. Didn't work.
You sent it to everyone?
No, I sent it to YouTube
and Twitch.
I only sent it to YouTube and Twitch, but Vivek said it's BYOD, not BYOB, guys. I said BYOB up in here, Vivek. You got it all wrong. So, anyways, no, great ad, guys, and I think there are privileged access management tools. The hard part is Microsoft's really tried to capitalize on the security feature, so they have built that into their OS and their server systems. and Azure. So it's hard to implement those technologies without using their solutions.
Right.
Right. So it's going to be interesting if we see more of those third-party PAM solutions, or if Azure is just going to try to keep a kind of monopoly on their own platform. So we'll see. Cool. Well, yeah. So adapting PAM. Let's say you have a PAM management platform. Well, what should you do? And I know this is kind of a wordy slide, so I apologize. But when you take a look at least privilege lifecycle, you got to start with the discovery project. Determine which endpoints and local users have admin rights, what applications are in use, whether they require admin rights for future maintenance, right? This all comes back to least privilege. If you don't have to have admin rights for maintenance, don't give admin rights for maintenance, right? Create an allow list. This comes back to the blacklist, whitelist, gray list. The allow list are all applications and processes that you trust. As an organization, you guys should have a whitelist, and then everything else, for the most part, should be blacklisted without approval or admin access. It's just security best practice today. Then you have your blacklist, implement your deny list. So known bad, block that at the firewall. Don't even let it in your environment. Mm-hmm. Next, create a restrict list. Manage the unknown areas with your restricted and automated workflows to allow approved apps to run, but then block malicious apps. And have that restrict list. So when certain criteria are met, you can give those admin rights only when needed. And then to build on that, contextual policies that align with your risk assessment, right? So based on the risk around that, then you can build contextual policies, as I mentioned before. Users may also change roles into departments. Accommodate these changes and audit those changes. I think more importantly, audit when users change roles in departments. I probably have more access than I need.
Right.
Don't tell corporate. Okay. And also don't limit yourself to domain controlled endpoints. I think that's huge. And I'd love to hear, everybody here. I see a lot of organizations limit themselves to domain controlled endpoints, right? When your security reach can stretch, organizations who allow BYOD networks, they give them free reign of everything. No, if they're using your network, they abide by your rules. Implement your blacklist on your BYOD network. Don't allow policy violations to occur on your BYOD network. You just don't need that even on a segment of your network. Don't limit yourself to domain-controlled endpoints only. And remember child processes. Integrate workflow, measure success, enable user interactive elevation requests to workflows. Have a process for that, right? When somebody does need those elevated access controls.
For sure.
Good stuff?
Yeah, makes sense.
All right, I'm going to throw this over to you now, Brandon, because you'd be proud. I grabbed this and I thought of you. So when you're, go ahead. I was going to say, when you're going to the board with it, what are the things you need to be able to speak to? What does it do for you? Is that it? Got it. I'm going to let you walk through these.
That's awesome. Now, where'd you get that picture? Oh, there we go. So yeah, in the summary, a strong least privileges strategy will reduce costs, save time and money by managing users securely. So as you guys know, a lot of times with organizations, they're looking at how to save on these strategies, right? Produce empowered, happy employees that can perform their duties without encountering roadblocks. All of us know when we're hardening security, if you affect users, it starts to now escalate, right? Go ahead.
But if you put processes in place to escalate privileges through that monitoring mechanism, right? So if you have a workflow that users know they can take advantage of when required, they won't run into those roadblocks and they'll accept the process for what it is.
Maybe. Let's take a little bit of a vote here. Yeah, knock on wood. What happens is, just on a quick side note, I've actually been talking to some clients about two-factor authentication and implementing those strategies. And for the people to start to take that one extra step to have them buy in, go through process, sometimes is a lot harder because they're only used to, and one of the things that we've all heard is that, but yeah, my password, all I do is I change the last three letters and I just keep rotating it from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. Now I have to do something else. Oh my God, it's so hard, right? So produce, like I said, produce empowered, happy employees. This is through education and knowledge, and have them to buy in, right? The buy-in process. 3, fast track compliance. Automated reports will safely satisfy auditors. This is key if you have to do with any compliance. A lot of times when you're implementing privilege and restrictions, it's because you're trying to meet certain compliance. So being able to do that and have reports, boards love that. Senior management love that because it makes it easy for them to report. And then 4, improved security blocks cyber criminals and malicious insiders from exploiting passwords compromise. Again, this has helped him to reduce the risk. All right. Yep. So when you're looking at that, so good find, Joel.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I like Peter Franklin. He said number 2 is important. You need empowered, happier employees.
Right.
And I think building in improvement, building in the ability to be flexible, building in the capability to escalate privileges and get applications and have an approval process, it's required, right? Because we're going to use, not everybody will use every application, but we need to be able to access the things so that we can add more value. We can learn skills. We can continue to improve ourselves and thereby improving our organization.
So I want to add something to that, Joel. If you can make that process easy for the organization after you're at the board, that is something that is so easy for them to buy in. If you make the process complicated, it's harder for them to buy in. Our system is only a 3 process step. We do this, this, and this, and this is how we implement it to make your employees happy. That's easy for them. But if you have it a 50-step process with 75 policies, they're going to like, nah, we're not doing that.
Yep, absolutely. No, I think that was great. And thank you guys for the compliment. 2, Sean said 2 is super important. We got great stuff, good stuff, Joel and Brandon from Richard. Guys, thank you all for joining us. The last point on this thing is accountability, because it's not pen and paper anymore. You can't lock it in a file cabinet, hold the key, check the key in, check the key out for who accesses the data. That's not it, right? Accountability is now about these systems giving access, these systems allowing you permissions to this data, and you have to be able to log it. You have to be able to monitor it. You have to be able to have visibility into it. That's accountability to who is escalating privileges, who's granting that permission, where is your chain of custody in that regard. So guys, that is Cutting into Cybersecurity, episode 31. You guys are absolutely fantastic. Brandon?
This is great. I mean, we're keep covering so much information on the technical level, the administrative level, how you guys can implement it and use this. Yeah. And the feedback you guys are giving us is helping us learn as well. So keep it up. I mean, we're all learning together, and this hopefully it's helping you guys when you're going out to your jobs and your daily activities. You guys have these things in your mind as you're working through your day-to-day activities, projects, even your security policies. So hopefully this is helping.
Yeah, hopefully it is, guys. Give it claps all the way around, guys. Please throw some claps in here. Richard said, don't be the office of no. Don't even be the office of yes, but be the office of yes, and let's go ahead and move forward.
So that's an improv thing.
Did you know that? I had no idea.
Yes, and. So if you take improv, one of the things they teach you in improv is yes, and. So you go, like, if you said something to me, we're like, Brandon, we want to implement that. Instead of saying no, I go, yes, and then I give you something else, and I continue the story.
Look at you. Maybe we'll do that one day with everybody. Just have fun.
There you go.
We'll do an improv night, just yes, and we'll have a bunch of callers in. That'll be fun. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We will be back Thursday night with another $25 gift card. Congratulations, David Greer, for winning this week's competition. You'll have an Amazon gift card in your inbox here shortly, guys. Everybody, thank you again for joining us. We'll see you guys Thursday night.